6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting of the Franklin County School Board to order. I would like to call this meeting to order. And just to let everybody know, we have two members that are attending virtually, Justin Watterson and Chuck Fletcher. You can see them up there. So we have everybody is here tonight. The first thing on our agenda tonight is public comments. We do have, I've got 4 sheets up here. If there's anybody else who wants to comment, please fill it out and give it to Rebecca. She'll get it to me. And I just want to read the policy on public comments. The Franklin County Board of Education has provided time in its agenda for individuals to make comments. If you wish to make comments to the board, you will be allowed up to a maximum of 3 minutes to do so. The board does not allow comments on certain matters dealing with individual personnel issues. Kentucky law states specifically that personnel matters are the responsibility of the superintendent. On all personnel matters, you should contact the superintendent of the schools. No questions, comments, or decisions/action related to public comments will be made by the board members at this meeting unless the specific topic addressed is on the agenda. However, the board will listen to the comments and/or suggestions which may lead to a discussion of the same at a future meeting. If you wish the board to discuss and/or take action on a particular issue, you must follow the procedures outlined in Franklin County Board of Education Policy 10.2. The superintendent or Rebecca will be able to assist in this request. All right. Let's start with Ms. Monfort, Eunice Monfort. Come on up. We've got a timer just to help you. Sometimes it makes me nervous to have a timer, but we're going to use it to hopefully help us here.
All right. I'm here tonight to talk about critical race theory. Critical race theory has its roots in Marxism. Karl Marx believed there was an imbalance of power between workers and the capitalists, and that there was no way the workers could gain access to property, land, etc., controlled by the capitalists except by revolution, whereby the workers destroy the existing system and replace it with a communist socialist system. Critical race theory proponents believe something very similar. According to the critical race theory, there are just 2 classes of people in the world. There are the victims and the victimizers. There are the oppressed and the oppressors. The victims and the oppressed are people, all the people of color in the world. The victimizers and the oppressors are all the white people of the world. According to critical race theory, you are determined to be in one or the other of those classes strictly based on the color of your skin. You can't help it. You are in one or the other of those classes based strictly on the color of your skin. Critical race theory says white people are oppressors who cannot prevent themselves from being racist because essentially it's built into our DNA. That statement alone is one of the most racist things I've ever heard. Critical race theory is being peddled in the United States under a variety of names, such as social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Social justice is just another name for socialism under critical race theory. And socialism is a system whereby they believe the government should own everything and the government has the right to take from one person and give it to another as they see fit. Most people in America believe that everyone is entitled to equal opportunity, to make everything that's available in America available to them. That's written in our Constitution and we all believe that. However, critical race theory doesn't just demand equality of opportunity. Critical race theory demands equality of outcome, which is virtually impossible. Critical race theory moves people away from the idea of personal responsibility. Critical race theory says white people have rigged all the systems in America to operate to their advantage to the point that a person of color cannot succeed. This has the outcome very often of creating a victim mentality. If you're a victim of the system, you can't be held responsible if you don't succeed. It must be somebody else's fault. Critical race theory doesn't take into consideration personal initiative, drive, work ethic, determination, background, the help you might have available at home, those kinds of things. According to critical race theory, because of all these built-in factors of racism, the only solution to this problem is to destroy the current system and build another one that's more equitable. I have talked to some of you, and I've been told that critical race theory is not being taught in the Franklin County schools. However, I've received a number of emails that says it is. I haven't been able to talk to these people face to face, but I've been told that it is.
Thank you.
It is being taught in Franklin County schools, and I'd like you to address it.
All right, next is, let's do Steve, I'm sorry, I can't read your last name. Stephen Swipe?
Sutley.
Sutley. I apologize for not being able to read that.
That's my writing, I understand.
Okay.
My name is Stephen Sutton, and I have a son that goes to school here, and a grandson that was graduating from here, and a son that goes to school here. So I am very concerned about what's being taught in our schools.
Raise it up.
Sorry. That's my type start. We live in the greatest country in the world. There's no question about it, but we do have flaws. We just celebrated the 4th of July. Just celebrate our founding fathers who founded this great nation. Many lost their lives protecting it and giving us this great nation. We just celebrated the Memorial Day. We're celebrating all those who have passed over the years that have protected our country, fighting socialism, Nazism, and communism. That's important because today we are in another war, a spiritual, cultural war in this country. Critical race theory, as Eunice mentioned, is founded on communism. It's a world Marxist communism movement, and it has infiltrated into every aspect of our country, including our schools. It's recognized by many names. You might not think that you have in your school, you do. It's there by quantity, social justice, diversity, inclusion, training, cultural responsibility teaching. It is basically an indoctrination in all of our cultures, in our public schools, our government, everything. Basically, I'll go through this quickly. Basically, critical race theory teaches this. This is 5 things that it basically teaches. It teaches racism, white supremacy. Everyone here in this room is a white person, is a white supremacist. Minority groups must not assimilate into our country. That is, by assimilating into our country, you are perpetuating white supremacy. That's just absolutely ludicrous. That's what made our country, was people coming into our country and assimilating into our country. White people receive unearned privilege by birth. That was covered by Eunice. By birth, you are a racist. We are oppressors, and non-whites are all oppressed. They're victims. The whites have rigged the system to the success of education and work, hiring metrics and workplace benches, standardized tests, university admission. All of that needs to be eliminated.
Time. Thank you.
The last thing is just social justice. You just talked about that with unity
Time.
and equality.
Thank you.
I thank you all.
And Phyllis Vincent?
Guys, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Since the early 1900s, the communists, the Marxists, the socialists, the progressives, whatever label you want to put on them, have been infiltrating in our country. They've been working in the government. Well, heck, we even know that we elect senators or representatives that are communists or anti-American anymore. This book, The Naked Communist, by renowned historian Cleon Skousen, details this if you care to look up some of this. In the late 1800s or early 1900s, communists set out 45 goals that they thought would help them accomplish tearing us down to the point that they could take over. Here's one, goal 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Goal 16, use the courts to weaken the basic American institutions claiming violation of civil rights. Goal 17, get control of the schools. Goal 19, use students to foment public riots and protests. Goal 20, infiltrate the press. Goal 21, gain control of radio, TV, and motion picture. Goal 24, eliminate laws governing obscenity, claiming censorship, and violation of free speech and press. Goal 25, break down cultural standards of morality. Goal 26, present homosexuality and degeneracy and promiscuity as normal and natural. Goal 28, eliminate prayer and religious expression in schools and in the public. Goal 29, discredit the American Constitution but call it inadequate or old-fashioned. Goal 30, discredit the founding fathers. Goal 40, discredit the family. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Goal 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the influence of parents. Kindergarten, preschool. How close? And there are other successes to other goals, but if you want, it's page 259 to 262. Read what they set out in the late 1800s. Most of the communist ideas have been presented in attractive and thought-provoking ways throughout history. They've been very Satan-like. Oh, eat that apple. Maybe now we're waking up. Maybe those that wish us harm are getting impatient and their suggestions aren't so pretty or inviting any longer, such as critical race theory or diversity, equity, inclusion, or any other name games
Time.
that they call.
Thank you.
Don't let it divide us. Don't teach it to our children.
And Mr. George Hurd.
Most of you don't know me, probably all of you, but I live at 130 Locust Avenue here in Frankfurt. I started out as a musician. I got a good education in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Once I traveled the world and traveled Canada and traveled all states in the United States, I decided to become a teacher. I already had a bachelor's degree in music, but I found out there weren't any music teachers wanted because they weren't teaching music anymore. So I got a master's degree in the arts of teaching so I could teach biology. And then I found out that students didn't want to learn biology. And that brings me to the point. Don't teach students what they want to learn. Teach them what they need to learn. They need to learn how to go out into the world and work to earn a living. They can't start in the world at $15 an hour. They need to learn to respect the flag. They don't do that anymore. They need to learn when an adult tells them not to do something, to not do it. They need to learn to respect the police. I'm a retired state policeman for Louisiana, but I live here in Kentucky because I loved it here. Of all the places in the world that I went to our cemetery and I stood by the statue of Daniel Boone. And I said, this is where I want to live. So when I got here, I started out as a substitute teacher in our schools. I taught in every school in this county. And the one thing that I found out is kids don't want to learn. They're being taught what they want to learn, not what they need to learn. So I will wrap up by saying, do not let them learn critical race theory. It's dangerous. And those of you that have lived as long as I have can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's it? Okay. All right. Moving on to new business. First item is No Excuses University.
So we would like to ask Mr. Jeff Rody, principal at Elkhorn Middle School, to come and talk to us about this exciting new program at Elkhorn Middle.
I probably don't need a mic, well, I'm sure it'll resonate in my voice. Sometimes you can do assemblies without a microphone. But No Excuses University basically is not, I was listening to the board meeting the other day, and I used to call it originally, when I first started looking into it, I thought it was a program as well. But it's not really a program, it's a mantra. It very much falls in line with the Every Student Succeed mission and vision statement that you all approved at the last board meeting. I was reading I had a chance to dive into a book called High Performing High Poverty Schools. So it took research about schools all across the country that had 60% or more free reduced lunch, along with diversity in the school. And they selected some elementary, some middle, and some high schools, and they looked at commonalities amongst all the schools. And beyond just kind of how they ran their day, the number one thing that they aligned as the sort of the it factor that changed their schools and created success on the same levels of other schools was essentially the idea that they did not buy into excuses. Meaning that when children came to school, if they came from poor houses or didn't have supplies or didn't have prior learning that the schools normally think the kids have to have in order to be productive students, they felt that those were all excuses and not adequate reasons into which these kids could not be proficient. And so essentially, a lot of these schools took on that particular mantra amongst their staff, and they saw tremendous results. Sometimes having the schools that were at the bottom start performing at the top of their districts or their respective states. There was one particular school that adopted this program or this mantra called No Excuses University. And the moment I read it, I was like, yeah, like what is that? Like, cause I've taught all over the place. I've taught in Hawaii. I went to school in Oregon, and I taught in Idaho. Now I'm in Kentucky. No matter where you go, kids are all the same. Teachers are kind of all the same. Everybody's pretty much the same wherever you go, for the most part. Where this sort of came up was my dove and looked into it. I really felt like it was the next step, especially when we're coming back off all the COVID and all that. There's going to be a lot of excuses for why kids might not perform next year. We started with a group of 10 teachers. We read something called The Opportunity Myth, as well as looking into parts of this book called High Performing High Poverty. And to realize like how we're going to have to approach this COVID learning is going to be probably the opposite of what many think they're going to want to do. They're going to want to think that we got to lower everything way down because kids had a year off. And the truth is that actually will not help them. To keep things at standard will actually grow them faster. So we're going to have to overcome a lot of those excuses in this particular thing. So what No Excuses is, and I'll let y'all look over this on your own. You can check out the more details. But essentially, number one on the what we believe side is really the mantra. It is that all students will be proficient in reading, writing, and math. And some kids may be there faster than others. Some may be closer to that goal than others, but it doesn't matter. First thing I'm going to say when I get to my students, when I get to see them again in August, is every single one of you is going to be proficient in reading, writing, math, and science. I'm sorry, that's just the way it's going to be, right? That's the new expectation around here. If you're struggling with math, don't worry, we got your back, we're going to help you. If you can't read, don't worry, we're going to help you read. Whatever it takes, that is the goal. And it's not, there is no excuse. I don't care what household you come from. I don't care what street you live on. I don't care if you have all the clothes in the world, whatever, you're going to be successful here in the school. Number two is it's got to be an obsession. So we talked about that. This group is sort of 10 teachers. And it was really interesting. We took them through the training. I mean, they walked out on fire. Like they were ready to roll. I wish I probably had timed it better. But they're ready to roll. They're ready for our retreat in August. They're ready to talk to their other teachers about what this is all about, how we're going to approach. So we're really excited. But you can read kind of the rest of what they believe. But essentially what it asks you to do is it asks you to look at 6 things within your school that every single school does. You can't really walk into any school in this country and not say that they don't collaborate or they don't have assessment or et cetera, right? The question is if everybody's doing it, how come there's not the same results essentially? And you can't really pick out why. You can go to certain schools in certain areas where the diversity is not there and they're still not performing, right? You can go to schools where there's diversity everywhere and they're high performing. So the question is, what is different about these schools that are having success and that there's not? And so they don't talk about having systems, they talk about having exceptional systems. And so that's our drive, is that the 6 systems here in the middle with collaboration, alignment, assessment, ours are not just going to be done at Elkhorn, they're going to be exceptional. They're going to be the top of the line, the best we can offer, the best that will be offered if we have anything to say about it. Damon Lopez is the author. He started this. If you flip it over on the back, you can see he started it in California. Los Penasquitos Elementary was one of the lowest performing schools in California. When they started this endeavor of no excuses, they began to enter the #1 elementary in California. It emphasizes a lot about college, and college is a huge topic. And it basically says that every kid has the right to go to college. And then what you do is you're not saying that every kid has to go to college. What you're saying is that every kid should have the opportunity to go, meaning if they want to apply for that post-secondary, whether it's 2-year trade, 4-year, whatever it may be, they can go and be successful because they got the tools. And he goes into length about the amount of money that's wasted on people who go to college unprepared. They waste money in tuition and debt and all that, and they're not really adequately prepared. You got other kids who really want to go to college, but due to the lack of quality education, can't go, can't do it. And so the goal for our kids is that you're going to have the ability to go, you're going to go. It's going to be your choice though, but you're going to be ready to go. And then number 2 just talks about the difference in earnings. Obviously, kids that don't go to college or people don't go to college have significantly less earning power over a lifetime than somebody that goes to some college or. So we start that talk with them in school, which makes a lot of sense because when you're trying to connect kids to school and what they're getting out of it, sometimes you can't always make the content. You can always make the end goal a part of it. So we keep that in front of them, we're preparing you for this college, we're preparing you for this job, basically. But that becomes more of an emphasis. So basically, the biggest thing about No Excuses University is not a discipline system. So if a kid comes into your office, you go, no excuses, sorry buddy, you're in trouble. That's not at all about what it is. It actually applies more to adults than it does kids. It just tells the adults, stop with the excuses. We've heard them, they don't work, they don't help, they've never changed the kid's life. Start figuring out the way forward, let's get this done. So it starts with the adults. But then it translates to kids to teaching them about post-secondary college, post-secondary education, whether any kind of college. I want to emphasize it. It's not just 4 years. It's any kind of post-secondary education. And lastly, it's really big on character and social emotional learning. It's huge on it. And it asks that when you want to be a No Excuses University school, you can't just pay a fee and get a tag. You have to send in an endorsement that we created as a group, and they had to read it and approve it before they would even take us on as a school. So they did actually accept us as a school to be the first No Excuses University school in the state of Kentucky. And so we're excited to do that. So I don't know what questions you all have, but that was a quick run through because it really does catch people off guard when they first hear it. They tried some things called No Excuses, or they call them No Excuses charters. Those were a complete failure and separate from this group. It was like a one-time thing they tried, and probably most charters they dealt with in Idaho were not very successful. But this is not that. This is something completely different.
Jim,
Yes, ma'am.
are there any other districts in Kentucky using this?
No, ma'am. They're mostly out west. They started in California, or California's where it started. They started in Texas, or they're based out of Texas right now, and they formulate a lot in Texas and out west. They have wanted to move east, so I hope to be the model for a lot of schools in the state and beyond.
Does it cost anything?
There's an initial cost up front to get the trainings. So we had access to all their materials and the trainings, so no different than any other kind of training material.
The staff would be trained here. They're not sent off.
Yes, ma'am, they're trained here. So we've already trained actually the core team. They're gonna turn around and train the rest of the staff. I think it's like, it's a pretty minimal fee year after year to stay and remain, because you can't just in order to use their brand.
I think Chuck had a question.
Oh, sorry.
Chuck, did you have a question?
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming and sharing with the board tonight. I had a big interest in what you were doing. And I want to say one thing that I see very positive. There's several things positive about the program that you have presented. But I do want to say, I like how you have the high expectations for every student to be successful and succeed. So thank you very much for having that high expectation for the students.
I was gonna say, when the principal has this much enthusiasm about a program, you're gonna see it trickle down to the students. And, I think it's gonna be a good thing for us. I mean, everything that we're talking.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear some progress reports.
Absolutely.
And Jeff, it does play right in with the new promise that we have crafted and we've implemented as a board, that every student succeeds. And so it's perfectly in with that, and I appreciate it coming and sharing. We're all excited. Thank you.
And please come back about mid-year,
Yeah.
let us know what's going on.
All right, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is Franklin County Schools Trauma-Informed Schools Plan.
KRS 158.4416 requires districts to develop a plan for implementing a trauma-informed approach in the district. The plan developed is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the trauma-informed schools plan.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion or questions?
I'd like to get a little more, just a little details.
Ask Ms. Six to go ahead and share a little bit. She was prepared to do that for us tonight.
The plan is actually, these are practices that we've done before. They include professional development for our school teams, crisis teams. And the only new thing that is added is the purchase of a social emotional learning curriculum. And we are preparing to purchase that with ESSER federal funds. And it will just help support our students when they experience trauma. A lot of them have been home and the pandemic was traumatic, not getting to be with their friends or get out of their house due to COVID. And so we are adopting a social emotional learning curriculum. It includes the SROs in our schools. It also includes the use of a threat assessment tool. And so each school will have a threat assessment team, and we will assess what our risks are when there is an event. So that seems to be planned, and you had the plan attached. Do you have specific questions?
No,
There's an online reporting system for bullying and that type of thing, but we've had those things. We've also had one counselor for every 250 kids in place. So these are things that are required by law in Senate Bill 1, and this trauma-informed schools plan is just a requirement.
So this is what we've been talking about for a couple of years, that it was coming down the road, that it would be required, but we've already approved it kind of in bits and bits. Yeah. Okay.
It was due July
Okay.
to ADE, so we've got it in place.
All right.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
Charlotte, the program looks very good. The question I have is anything coming down for the class of 5 folks, because they are faced with these students as well. So I was wondering, is there anything for the class of 5 folks for training for some of them?
They will be included in the school's training programs, and we'll be able to stay for that. So we will be training all staff at the school level. And then anything central office would need to attend for professional learning, we could do that as well, Mr. Fletcher.
All right, Thank you.
All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Sounds like that was all of us. Motion carries. All right, next item is seamless summer food service option. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I checked my things off too quickly. CEP intent to participate.
So Franklin County Schools will continue to participate in the community eligibility provision for school meals. This includes elementary schools, middle schools, and the academy. The recommended motion is to approve the CEP intent to participate.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the intent to participate? Is that money for food? Free meals, okay, all right.
Thank y'all for coming.
All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now, seamless summer food service option.
Our food service director, Wendy Greenwell, will brief the board on the seamless summer option. The USDA has made this option available for districts to participate instead of the NSLP. Wendy, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The seamless summer option is a program through the National School Lunch Program that the USDA has allowed us to do for the entire school year, this coming school year. What that means is that every student can eat breakfast and lunch free. So we had to sign the CEP to stay in that program in case we need it for next year. We stay in line with that program, but this program will cover us for the whole school year. It is an option for all students to eat free. And it's something that the USDA approved because of everything that happened last year. So I've decided that that's the program we needed to be doing. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Is there any questions or?
Anybody have any questions? So this is going to be every student gets to eat breakfast and lunch for free? Did I miss
Yeah.
something? Okay, so this is kind of, yeah, for all grades?
Yes, for everybody. It covers everybody.
Okay, okay.
We had to do the CEP because we have to stay in line with that program in case we need it for next year.
Okay.
And so this is just a program that's being offered for this school year. This everybody free.
Just part of the CARES.
No.
All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item, waiving the 2021-2022 promo fee.
At our last board meeting, Ms. Melinda Henson offered up a wonderful suggestion that we should try to find a way with these federal funds to pay for school supplies. And we were able to do that. And thank you all as a board. Thank you, Melinda, for offering that suggestion. And it's been very well received in the public. We're very excited about it. But while doing that, we also saw that we still had that Chromebook fee that was in there. And frankly, with the influx of the federal dollars for this school year, we wanted to go ahead and waive that fee for our families. They've been doing an awful lot this year. So in addition to providing student school supplies, we're requesting the Chromebook protection plan fee be waived for the 2021-2022 school year. The recommended motion is to approve waiving the 21-22 Chromebook protection plan fee.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any questions?
How much is that?
In the past, it's been $25. That cost actually went up this year to $40. Yes, so it was going to be $40 fee. And we think that, again, with this influx of federal dollars, it's very difficult, very difficult. And if we can find a way to not charge, let's find a way to do it.
Well, what I was gonna ask is, now I know schools come, kids are coming back into the school this August. Does all kids still have Chromebooks? I mean, every
Yes.
single student?
Every single student. We actually ordered some replacement Chromebooks, about 1,200 of those within the last couple of weeks, to phase out some of the older models. So K through 12, every student will have a Chromebook.
All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. I think that's everybody. Motion carries. Fidelity bond of treasurer.
Fidelity bond requirements are summarized in KRS 160.560 and KAR 3080. Each year, the treasurer and other employees responsible for Board of Education funds shall execute an official bond for the faithful performance of the duties of his or her office to be approved by the local board and the Commissioner of Education. The Fidelity bond for federal year 2022 is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the Fidelity bond of treasurer.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Those things are important. The next item is second reading and approval of the 21-22 policy updates.
The second reading and approval of 2021-2022 policy updates recommended by KSBA is attached here. The first reading was done on June 7, 2021. The recommended motion is to approve the 2021-2022 policy updates as presented.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Somebody's the first one, somebody's the second.
Justin was the first, I was the second.
All right. Any questions or comments?
We're not voting on it tonight. Just
We-
this is the second
No, we
reading.
are. This is
We are.
approval.
Okay.
Yes, this is approval.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And then the first reading of the updated policy 05-.48.
Yeah, policy 05.48 has been recommended to include the title of school safety coordinator in the language. The policy is attached for the first reading on it. So again, we're just doing it every time.
Now, the safety coordinator, is that, what field?
Mr. Abrams, back in the back there. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So basically what it's saying, they are the only ones allowed to carry.
With the school resource officers,
Yes.
yes.
And that should be.
All right, moving on to reports to the board, superintendent's personnel actions.
Personnel actions taken since the last meeting, the board are presented for your information.
And reports from school council.
Draft minutes from school site-based decision-making councils are presented for your review.
Instructional services update.
And before Charlotte begins, there's a mistake here. This should now say deputy superintendent Charlotte States.
Okay.
So we want to welcome her as our new deputy superintendent.
Thank you. I have some fun facts for you tonight, but first Rebecca's going to put up some pictures. Lots of resources have been coming into the schools. And this is a picture. Collins Lane and Hearn sent us some pictures of their books that have begun arriving from the federal funding. And so look at all those boxes of books. They were so excited to see all the reading materials, and I thought we'd share that with you. You know, materials are coming in. Summer is a busy time for us. I need to give a shout out to the teachers. We have over 260 employees that have completed 700 hours of professional development since May 10th. So lots of folks think it's summer break, but our teachers are still working and taking care of their professional ongoing learning. And I wanted to share that with you. Also, I don't think we'll be hiring as many folks this year. I'm not sure if it's the pandemic that most folks are staying put, and maybe Ms. Perkins will be able to tell us more in August, but right now we have 19 postings for July, 9 elementary and 10 high school. No middle school postings at the moment, which is definitely unusual. So I think we're going to be hiring fewer. We usually pick up 90 new teachers a year. And so I think that'll be a much lower number for 2021, 22. So I think everyone just wants to settle in and stay where they are. So that's good news. Some summer school updates. I brought some statistics for you. We have 54% male students in our summer school and 45% female. 70% free and reduced lunch students, 30% non-free and reduced lunch students. 19% of the students enrolled are students with different abilities, and 81% typical students. We have 5.5% students with limited English proficiency that are attending summer school. And what's interesting, and if we have any parents listening to this update, of our numbers, we have 1,279 kids enrolled in summer school, which I told you before is about, 20% of our kids total. 171 of those are freshmen. And so if you have a freshman, that's a tough year for kids. And so it was interesting to me that our largest group are freshmen, followed by kindergarten, 158 kids. First grade, 144 kids. Second grade, 127. And then back up to the high school, 126 10th graders. So those are tough years for those kiddos, and the parents wanted to make sure they were enrolled in summer school. I want to give a shout out to Bridgeport Elementary. They've been maintaining 95% attendance. And so their attendance, we need their assistance for getting those kids to school in the summertime. But we've been doing a really, really thorough job. I have pre-test data that once I get the post-test data in reading and math, I'll share that with you in August. Do you have any questions for me?
I like I said, it seems like the kids that really needed the worst are actually there, and I see buses running. So I'm so happy that this, and I think this will bring our kids up to level being in.
And it's just like Mr. Rhodey mentioned, we have to begin the year with the mindset that we're not going to lower our standard because they were home last year. We have to teach to the standard. They didn't miss a year. Our teachers worked really hard, and our kids worked really hard. And so I think they're resilient, and they'll just bounce right back. So we're excited about the upcoming year, and in August, we'll be coming to the board meeting with lots of exciting things to share after we get together. So thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent report.
Well, I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who came tonight and spoke for public comments. We really do appreciate hearing from all of you. I really appreciate hearing from the community. Always feel free to come. I have an open door policy. My office is right over there. Please come and share any concerns at any time with me, and I'd be more than glad to listen and speak with you all. So thank you very much for that. Charlotte Six, I did mention just a few minutes ago, is our new deputy superintendent. We're very thrilled for hiring her into this new position. Very excited about that. A few other new hires. Jennifer Perkins is our new director of human resources, replacing the irreplaceable Holly Atkins. And we're really glad that Jennifer would join us. And she had a great first day today, she said. So, and because Jennifer came and took this job, it opened up Collins Lane Elementary. So Beth Laudmel, our new principal of Collins Lane, we want to say, give her a big shout out. And I want you to notice sitting in the very, very back corner of the room back there is our new Western Hills High School principal, Ann DeMott. Ann, welcome. We can't wait to work with you. The only other thing I want to talk about today is our back to school event. We've got something in the consent agenda for you to approve. Instead of doing a picnic this year, we're actually going to invite all of our employees and their families to a Lexington Legends baseball game on Sunday, August the 8th at 5 p.m. It will be Franklin County Schools Night. And obviously all of our board members are invited as well. We've been soliciting donations so that we will not have to pay any taxpayer dollars for this. We're working very closely with the Legends to make that happen. We've already received some very significant contributions to allow this to happen. That event will include a ticket to the game for everyone who comes, as well as a buffet meal. Our choir from Franklin County High School will be singing the national anthem.
Oh, wow.
And you think I should tell them? Okay, well, we have one very special employee in our district. You obviously all know Mr. Kerry Johnson. This year will be celebrating his 50th year teaching in Franklin County Schools. And we've asked him to throw out the ceremonial first pitch at the game.
Okay.
So, and he is accepted, so we're excited about that. I'll get you more information as we get a little bit closer, but I'll be texting that to you because, we will have one meeting before then, but Sunday, August 8th at 5 p.m. at the Lexington Legends. And that's all I have.
I just want to say, I can understand when Ms. Perkins, how tough she is, that's why nobody's leaving. She's got to
All right, on to the consent agenda.
The consent agenda is presented for your approval. The recommended motion is to approve the consent agenda as presented.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Is there a
Second,
Yes, okay, go ahead.
if we go down to the Alchemy Collaborative, I guess that's a memorandum of agreement. If you read that, don't we already have somebody on staff that does these things?
Well,
Why are we hiring?
Well, it's actually to provide some additional support for that person. It's a 1-year agreement where,
That's almost $19,000.
yeah, it is a significant amount of money, but we are going to use federal funds for that. But the products that Ms. Six and I have been looking at from this particular collaborative are really going to be a game changer for our district. It's something that Mr. Fletcher has been asking for us to do for a very long time, and that is selling our story more effectively. I think we have some amazing things going on in our district. And going into this agreement for this year is really going to enable, with a lot of the products that have already been created, our current communication information coordinator, Ms. Waits, to really run with this thing with our website, with our app. It's a multi-linked piece that we've never seen before. And it's also going to be really, really special for all of our employees. So yes, it is a significant upfront investment. It is a one-time investment, and we are going to use federal funds for that.
For 1 year, right?
Yes.
I agree with Melinda. I just don't want us to get too top-heavy here and spending money, you know.
There's a lot on here that we're spending out the wazoo, and, the buck stops with us on money, so.
Well, but the problem is that with all this federal funding, it's spend it or lose it. So,
This is true. We're trying to find a way to spend it wisely, and the return on investment is always what you're looking for, and this is going to be a significant return on investment. And this is not a position where we're going to have someone come in and work for us. This is someone who's going to work hand in hand with Ms. Waits, with her job and with our schools, to really be able to more effectively sell our schools.
and then at the end of the year, Kristen, hopefully.
She
can
takes it
run
and
with
does it, yes.
Okay.
That's what it's all about. It's kind of like the whole thing with job embedded PD. You train the trainer, kind of a model. You train the person and then they learn. Anything you want to add,
So we
Charlotte?
can send Kristen to a training to do this? I just think that's a lot of money
It's
for
still,
what they're doing.
it is, but it is still less than what we've spent in the past on a former PR position, and it builds capacity in the current person who's here. And so, you're right, it is money, but it's federal money, and we intend to make it work for us. Now is the time to do things we can't normally do with this federal money, and that's what they advised us from KDE.
So then what do we do next year? If we like them, we accept what they're doing, then does next year come out of federal funding? I mean, out of our.
Next year, there won't be any need to do. This is 1 year, literally, it's a 1 year, and we're going to gain a lot of products from this as well as the training. So yes, thank you for mentioning that. It is less than what we paid our previous person prior to Kristen to do this work.
Okay. I mean, I know like in my business, I had a website and I paid for 1 year, but then after that year, I owned it.
Yes, that's
That's kind of
basically what it is. We're getting access to these things that we'll be able to use forever.
Right, well, that's a good thing, if we can get a good foundation, and that allows her to run with it and be able to build upon it.
Exactly. It's gonna really embolden her and enable her to do her job. I think I heard one of the board members, did anyone, I can't see.
Chuck or Justin, did y'all have a comment?
I have always said that in today's society, if you're going to have if you have a good school system, which I have said over and over and over, that I feel like we have a good school system, then you're going to have to sell your product. And I say that for every opportunity we have, whether it's in the schools or business or whatever, if you want people to buy the product, you better sell your product. And I think we have a staff and folks that are doing a good job. So I can see the 1 year thing and helping Kristen along as well. She does a good job as well too.
Yeah, especially with all the social media and all, there's so many different areas that you can reach out, touch people, and get the message across. And
Yeah, and Kristen does a really good job. This is about going from good to great. We're doing the same thing we're asking all of our students in schools to do.
One other thing that I like to mention, are we still on the superintendent's before our consensus?
We're on the consent agenda.
Okay, I'll just wait at the end of the board.
All right, all in favor of the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
I,
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, motion carries. The next item is enter into closed session.
Yes, let me go down to that. Sorry. Meetings which federal or state law specifically require to be conducted in privacy is mentioned in KRS 61.8101K. KRS 156.5774D, any preliminary discussions related to evaluation of the superintendent by the board or between the board and the superintendent prior to the summative evaluation shall be conducted in closed session. The recommended motion is that the board enter into closed session as stated.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of entering into closed session indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Before you all leave, are we off for a second?
Yes.